SpaceX is steadily moving towards Starship Flight 12, with progress unfolding both on the vehicles and at the launch site. On the hardware side, Super Heavy Booster 19 has already completed its cryogenic proof campaign and is now inside Mega Bay 1, undergoing Raptor engine installation ahead of its static fire test. Meanwhile, Ship 39, the upper stage for Flight 12, is fully stacked inside Mega Bay 2 and being prepared for its own cryogenic proof test. Vehicle readiness, however, is only part of the equation. Launch Pad 2, which will support Flight 12, continues progressing toward operational readiness. As a newly built launch complex, every structural, mechanical, hydraulic, electrical, and control system at Pad 2 must undergo commissioning, functional verification, and integrated validation before flight hardware is introduced. As part of pad commissioning, SpaceX recently repeated a coordinated systems test involving the Super Heavy Booster transport stand and the launch tower. The stand, which secures the booster with restraint mechanisms during ground handling, must coordinate closely with the tower's chopstick arms during transfer operations. Once the chopsticks take the vehicle's weight, the stand's restraints are required to release in a precisely timed sequence. Through a dedicated power and data interface, both systems exchange real-time status signals, allowing the tower to command the chopsticks to lift and place the booster onto the launch mount only after full restraint release is confirmed. A similar interface test was conducted roughly 3 weeks ago. Following that run, the transport stand was returned to the production site, where teams implemented adjustments based on the collected data, likely refining restraint mechanisms, alignment tolerances, and control interfaces. By cycling the restraint system again on Monday, SpaceX validated the communication links and automated control handshakes, a step toward faster, safer, and more tightly interlocked booster stacking at the pad. Beyond the coordinated stacking test, several other pad systems have undergone validation in recent days, steadily advancing the site toward full operational readiness. Scaffolding has now been removed from the orbital launch mount, indicating that structural, electrical, and fluid integration work is largely complete. The dual booster quick disconnect interfaces, responsible for delivering liquid methane and liquid oxygen, have undergone repeated actuation tests to verify alignment, hood closure, sealing integrity, and rapid retraction capability at liftoff. The booster hold-down clamps were also tested, with all 20 units extending and retracting sequentially to verify actuator performance, positional feedback, and synchronized release. Ground safety systems are also being rigorously exercised. The detonation suppression system has completed several short and long-duration tests, discharging high volumes of water and inert nitrogen beneath the mount to purge residual methane and oxygen before liftoff, reducing the risk of trapped propellant ignition during engine firing. The most significant milestone was the first full-scale activation of Launch Pad 2's water-based acoustic suppression and thermal protection system. This integrated test engaged both the flame trench discharge system beneath the pad and the orbital launch mount's top deck water injection system, running for over a minute and releasing high-volume flows that enveloped much of the structure. During launch, this system absorbs acoustic energy, reduces reflected overpressure beneath the vehicle, and protects pad hardware from extreme heat. The flame trench discharge cools surfaces exposed to exhaust plume impingement, while the top deck system suppresses shock reflections and shields critical mount hardware around the engine section. A full-duration activation validates pump capacity, flow distribution, pressure stability, and synchronization between the trench and mount systems before they are exposed to the far harsher conditions of an actual super heavy ignition. At the top of the launch tower, roof panel installation is now underway, enclosing the upper levels and protecting critical hardware and access platforms from weather exposure. The chopsticks and ship quick disconnect arm have completed motion tests across varying speeds and ranges, confirming mechanical readiness. In parallel, the propellant tank farm is being commissioned, with pumps, heat exchangers, and valves undergoing checks to ensure stable cryogenic conditioning and transfer. Taken together, the vehicles and ground systems are converging toward Flight 12 readiness. If the remaining pre-launch tests proceed as planned, a March liftoff remains possible, marking the debut of the Block 3 Starship configuration and the first operational use of Launch Pad 2. In a major regulatory milestone, the FAA has issued a finding of no significant impact and record of decision, approving updated airspace closures for new Starship launch trajectories and return to launch site operations from Starbase. The decision follows a final tiered environmental assessment, building on prior reviews and confirming approval for up to 25 Starship launches and 25 booster and upper stage landings per year. The latest assessment addresses expanded flight paths, a Florida overflight stretching roughly 1,600 nautical miles east across the Gulf of America and northern Florida, and return to launch site profiles extending about 3,700 nautical miles west across Mexico and the southwestern United States. The FAA estimates up to 400 aircraft per launch and 200 per landing could be affected during peak periods, potentially impacting as many as 8,800 and 4,400 commercial flights annually if 22 daytime operations occur. Even with these projected disruptions, the FAA determined that the proposed operations would not result in significant environmental impacts across all 4 categories reviewed. Airspace safety, however, remains a flashpoint. During last October's public review of the proposed trajectories, the Airline Pilots Association criticized the FAA's analysis as extremely vague, citing the risk of catastrophic debris events. Concerns intensified after Starship's mid-air failures during test flights 7 and 8, which triggered debris response zones and diverted aircraft near the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. In one instance, the FAA was reportedly notified about 15 minutes after breakup, and some controllers learned of the anomaly from pilots who observed debris. SpaceX rejected claims that aircraft were endangered, stating in December that debris remained within pre-coordinated hazard areas and that aircraft were rerouted in real time. In January, the FAA issued a rare safety alert for operators urging extreme caution beneath commercial spacecraft trajectories, acknowledging that debris could fall outside predicted zones, particularly over oceanic airspace with limited radar coverage. So while the approval does not eliminate operational risk, it signals regulatory confidence that expanded Starship trajectories can be integrated into the National Airspace System, an essential step toward routine Starship return-to-launch site landings and full reusability. Now, let's discuss the latest updates from the world of science and technology. NASA has resolved the recent fueling issues on the Artemis II space launch system and is preparing for a second full wet dress rehearsal ahead of its first crewed lunar mission. To recap, on February 2nd, NASA conducted a full wet dress rehearsal of the SLS rocket for the first crewed Artemis lunar flyby. The team loaded more than 700,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen into the SLS core and upper stages, while rehearsing key countdown events and validating fueling systems, umbilicals, software, and ground operations without liftoff. During fueling, engineers detected a persistent liquid hydrogen leak at the tail service mast umbilical, the ground-to-rocket interface feeding the core stage. Controllers paused loading multiple times to manage the leak before completing propellant fill and entering terminal countdown. However, the rehearsal was ultimately halted at T-minus 5 minutes, 15 seconds, when hydrogen leak rates exceeded safety limits. During a February 3rd briefing, NASA described the test as a productive data-gathering exercise, despite the scrub. Subsequent analysis traced the leak to faulty seals within the tail service mast umbilical interface. Technicians separated the ground and vehicle interface plates, replaced 2 suspect seals, and sent the removed components for forensic analysis. To verify those repairs before another full rehearsal, NASA conducted an unannounced confidence test on February 12th. This partial tanking operation again loaded liquid hydrogen into the core stage under cryogenic conditions. The results were encouraging. Leak rates were materially lower than during the February 2nd attempt, and no leakage was observed at the previously problematic core stage interfaces. However, the test ended early when a ground support issue reduced hydrogen flow, limiting the evaluation. NASA identified a filter in the ground-side liquid hydrogen feed system, designed to prevent debris from entering the propellant lines, as the likely source of the flow restriction. Over the weekend, teams replaced the filter, reconnected the line, and began re-establishing proper environmental conditions ahead of the next test. NASA is now targeting Thursday, February 19th, for a second full wet dress rehearsal, with data from the earlier confidence test providing engineers enough insight to proceed. While a formal launch date will not be set until after a successful rehearsal and data review, managers have identified March 6th as the earliest possible launch opportunity. Looking beyond Artemis II, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman emphasized on X that the agency is determined to eliminate recurring fueling challenges altogether. He noted that for Artemis III, the SLS will undergo cryogenic proofing before rollout to the pad, and the propellant loading interfaces will be redesigned to prevent similar issues from emerging in future missions. NASA's SpaceX Crew-12 has arrived at the International Space Station, restoring the orbiting laboratory to full crew strength after an earlier mission ended prematurely due to a medical emergency. The mission launched on February 13th from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, aboard a Falcon 9 rocket carrying the Crew Dragon spacecraft Freedom. The crew consists of NASA astronaut Jessica Meir as commander, NASA astronaut Jack Hathaway as pilot, ESA astronaut Sophie Adenaude of France, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev as mission specialist. Meir and Fedyaev are returning for their second long-duration stays aboard the ISS, while Hathaway and Adenaude are making their first space flights. The ascent was nominal, with Dragon separating from Falcon 9's upper stage about 10 minutes after liftoff, following orbital insertion. The spacecraft then deployed its nose cone, conducted automated health checks, and initiated a sequence of orbit-raising burns to synchronize its trajectory with the station. Over roughly 34 hours, Dragon performed phasing maneuvers and navigation updates before approaching the ISS. Crew-12 docked autonomously to the Harmony module after completing relative navigation and soft capture procedures. Standard post-docking leak checks, structural and electrical interface verifications, and pressure equalization were conducted before hatch opening, after which the 4 astronauts were welcomed aboard by the 3-member Soyuz MS-28 crew already in orbit. Crew-12's arrival fills the gap left by Crew-11, whose mission ended early after just over 5 months, when an undisclosed medical issue arose during preparations for a spacewalk last month. The crew returned to Earth with a Pacific Ocean splashdown on January 15th, weeks ahead of schedule. As a result, the station operated short-staffed, with just 3 crew members instead of the usual 7 for several weeks, until Crew-12 restored full capacity. During their approximately 8-month mission, Crew-12 will conduct more than 250 scientific investigations and technology demonstrations, and perform at least 2 spacewalks to maintain and upgrade station systems. Thank you for tuning in for the latest science news and Starship updates. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.